Hello? 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 Is this thing on? Hello? You're watching, listening to, participating in the deliciousness. I'm going to regret saying that later. Loose gadgies. I'm going to regret that. I'm going to watch this back and go, you bellend.
Deliciousness.
Deliciousness. Well, you know, we do have a mostly female audience, so maybe we are just a little bit delicious. Just a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm willing to accept that. I'm a bit conscious. No, I'm not delicious. Anyway, look, this week we're talking about habits. Not the none kind, the dirty and the good kind. There are good habits, as we've discovered, that we don't focus on the good bits. We always focus on the bits that we don't like. And Mark, this is what we were talking about earlier. We watched the episodes back, look at all the things that we want to change, but at no point have I went, that was a good bit. None of that. That's a bad habit, right? It's not a good habit.
It's I've been reading a book, and one of the points about the book talks about, you know, people that try to finish people's sentences as a habit. But what we've realized from this is that because the sound quality doesn't work very well when you're both talking, that we've both found a way to watch for when each other is coming towards an end of a sentence or a comment, haven't we? We're watching for it now.
Yeah, like you were saying before the episode last week, so you found a way to vape in between my sentences. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be sat here going and then just blowing just a puff of smoke into the camera and looking like one of these, you know, vaping bellends.
I've found the same with me drugs. So I just sort of inject myself.
I haven't seen the lighter or the spoon once.
That's enough about me. Call me a spoon.
Or the mirror, or the rolled up 20.
Yeah. Got to get my hair right, you know. Yeah. So, all habits we have. Yeah.
Yeah. The episode 10's doing all right. It's doing all right on YouTube. Yeah. The jokes though, cut up. As you know, I spent all this week drawing a bunch of stuff on the iPad to go with the t-shirts and this and that, which I've yet to actually get online, because then I've been drawing a lot to try and prepare a bunch of stuff so that when I do put it up, I've got all these different bits to put up. But then I also spent, I don't know how long, cutting out 20 odd jokes from the episode, rendering them all into their own individual clips, and then uploading them to TikTok, YouTube, what have you. Flintstones joke, nearly the Abu Dhabi do, nearly 1,700 views on its own. People love a Flintstones joke or a daft joke. My triplets joke, it sat at 250 for ages, and then just all of a sudden it jumped to 600. So I think it depends, because during the day it's all UK audiences, sort of between 5 and 10 at night, thereabouts. Then it hits sort of 11, 12, all the way through to 3 a.m. and the American audiences come in. We've got quite a few American followers. And then just kicks off again. You just see these massive spikes. And as you know, I'm sat there watching it. It's 3 a.m. and I'm sat there watching the graph. Going, ooh, look at that. And that Flintstones joke smashed it in the space of 2 hours. Nearly 2,000 views on its own. I thought, well, people like a bit of a laugh. So I've scheduled a whole bunch of them in, so they're all going to go out. There'll be some out today, over the weekend, every day right up until the end of March. So it's nice to be out there entertaining people. There's a bunch of likes. There's a few dislikes, mind. I'm like, how can you dislike a Flintstones joke? It was silly, it was funny. What you like.
Because we're all different.
We're all different. I'm going to thumbs down on that. Thumbs down. I go to Abu Dhabi every year. Thumbs down.
Do you do?
Nah.
Do you do?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's done all right.
Yeah, good. So a lot of what habits is something that we realised that as we've been doing the episodes, we've being able to sort of move across from habits into something called the Johari window. So the fact that we've got the ability to watch ourselves back on video, we're noticing things about our personalities and the way we do things, that some things are serving us well and some things are not serving us well. The couple that I've picked out about myself, one would be this continuous habit of scratching my neck when I'm trying to make a point or getting anxious or whatever. And the other is certain language that we use all the time, mine being, that's interesting, and it's sort of pushing us in a way of either accepting that those parts of us are helping us, or they're not helping us, and we're actively trying to change them now, aren't we?
Yeah, I shut up more often, and I say fascinating a lot. I thought, who am I, Spock?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of what we...
There you go.
Yeah, it's like an electric shock.
Yeah. It's not the 72.
Oh, that was Carson. Give her that number, but we have to be careful with that number.
The MDs told me that joke. What's that about? I had no idea what you were on about. It turns out it was mega filthy. I was like, and that came from the MDVP. What's that about? It's funny.
Yeah,
funny.
So a lot of what I mean, Simon's going to break us up a little bit with some bits that he's done, but a lot of what I've got for this week is from a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, that if you ever get the chance to read it, I would highly recommend it, because it sort of helps you to understand yourself and the journey that you're going on. But if I said that his book, one copy is sold between every 15 and 30 seconds in the world, it tells you, why it's sold sort of in excess of 30 million books.
30 million.
Really, really good. I mean, he's an American guy, but he actually starts on a story about the British cycling team. So the British cycling team,
right, yes,
yeah?
And the
British cycling team for 100 years had what you would call mediocre results in terms of their performance, and then they employed this coach, this guy, and they won 60% of the medals in 2008 in the Olympics, which had never been done before. And what they talked about was relentlessly creating good habits, and I call it accepting nothing and challenging everything. Yeah. So nothing about the setup, the people, the bikes, the environment, the whole thing. They questioned everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when they talk about 1% aggregate over time, so they're looking for 1% increases.
Compound increases. So they always add.
100%. Yeah, exactly what they're talking about. They're talking about compound improvements, compound interest. If you ever look at the book by Tony Robbins, which talks about compound interest in terms of financial terms, it's exactly the same principle. That here's a one for you. So if you did a 1% improvement each day, you would be 37 times better by the end of the year than you are now. 1% improvement every day.
Because you're actually adding... That 1% is bigger than the previous 1% because it's adding compounded.
The thing that blew my mind, and I won't give the exact numbers, but I moved house a couple of years ago, and when you move house, you change your address on documents, etc. Suddenly found out that I had a pension pot that I didn't know about, and the pension pot had stopped in, I think it was 2006 or 2008, at a certain value. And I got this document, let's say last year, 2022. So in 14 or 16 years, can't remember, it had doubled in its value. Now, somebody'd say, oh, that's a long time. But I never did anything with it. So when you talk about compound improvement and compound interest and compound performance, just steadily over time, that pot doubled in size. So if you could relate that to yourself and say, well, each day I'm going to be 1% better, or every week I'm going to be 1% better than I was, that makes an astonishing opportunity in terms of your performance, doesn't it? By sort of end of 2 year, 5 year, blah blah blah.
Yeah, psychologically, 1% doesn't sound like a lot, does it? When you look at your range of things that you might like or dislike about the things that you do, to make a 1% change might be changing one thing.
Yeah, the example I use, let's go to a real life example for me and you. So picking productivity in the company that we work for. Yeah. Now I never forget this number. So me and you, we work this picking process, and by 2 years we'd improved the picking process by 236%. I never forget the number. 236% we improved picking productivity in this environment in 2 years. Yeah. Now, and that was not about, we didn't have a goal that we were moving towards. We were just talking about incremental improvement over time, weren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't about looking forward. Maybe it's past a week or a month or something. We would just say, look, can we do better? What are we not doing better? We even down to how we put the stuff in to be picked in the first place and how we laid it out. So it wasn't necessarily about telling people to work faster. It was about how we laid it out and how we made their job easier to do in the first place, and looking for which bits were the quickest bits. And then when you started doing the lean thinking and actually talking about the physical process of reaching out to pick things, say, well, why don't we put all the hot stuff, all the stuff that gets picked the most, right in front, even down to how, it's quicker to reach out rather than bend over, and how many times are they bending over, and what kind of effect that has across the day. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen, but I had to say it because it was true. It was part of the process. So you looked at all of the physical movements, even Brian's solution.
Yeah,
with the slidey baskets.
Yeah, slidey baskets.
Well, putting the baskets on rails so you could just push it to the next person rather than have to lift it and put it on their table. They just slid it across and just left it in front of them.
That's the bit when you get into sort of finite detail. So here we actually ended up employing a Lean Six Sigma guy, Sebastian, and he showed us that actually by just changing the font on the locations, that your eyes can focus faster on a certain size font, and he improved productivity. But I think it was like 3 or 4%. He improved productivity by just changing the size of the font.
That's why road signs are in the font that they're in. Because when you're going past a sign that says Birmingham, you don't actually read the word Birmingham. You see the word Birmingham as a picture, and you know that shape is Birmingham. So that font was picked very purposefully. There was this, I can't remember who it was, what her name is, but her and this other person did the whole thing. And she's not famous enough. I sat and watched the interview she did on the process that she went through, and I thought, that nobody thinks like that, do they? Not many people do think like that. Like, oh, what about, you're travelling, you might be travelling at 70 miles an hour, you've got to be able to see this thing from a distance, you've got to know it without having to read it, being distracted, spending time reading what the word says, all of that. These sound like daft changes. Some people might go, you did what with a font? Yeah, but look at the change it made, though. Does that not validate the point that even though it sounds like you changed the font, yeah, but look at the change it made, though. So,
that's the bit. Yeah, that's the bit about, we're all looking for. I want to lose 24 stone in a day, and if it doesn't work, I'm not going to do it. But when you're focused on incremental change, and you say, changing a font only increases productivity by 3%, it's not worth doing it. That's why you're not moving forward, yeah, because you're looking for that massive gain, yeah, where we were looking for incremental improvements over time. So when you start a new habit, let's say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym next week, and you go to the gym twice, and you don't see an incremental change in that week, and you stop, which is what a lot of people do. They stop.
Yeah.
Because they haven't seen the change. They're looking for this huge change, like, well, I should have lost a stone this week, and nothing's happened, so I'm not going to go again. And that's why they stopped going to the gym, because they haven't seen this small incremental change that actually did happen by even only going twice.
Yeah, and it's almost like there's an instant gratification or an instant measurable difference or some sort of reward. Say, look at, if I hadn't have went, I wouldn't have lost these £2.
So here's the one. Here's the one for you. Right, I'm going to start. As we all know, I don't drink anymore. Right. So because I don't believe it brings me any benefit. But I'm going to start a new habit on Monday. Yeah. And I'm going to start a new habit. I'm going to start drinking on Monday. And I'm only going to have one beer on Monday. And I'll probably have one on Wednesday. But I'm not going to see a significant change. Yeah? I'm not going to see... So, the fact that I won't see a significant change, most people, if you reverse that on weight, they would stop. But I'm going to keep going on that drinking, yeah? Because it's a journey, and I'm looking forward to that journey. And guess what? Over a couple of months and over a couple of years, I'm steadily going to increase the amount I drink over a period of time, to that it becomes that I don't notice the change in me.
It's the frog in hot water.
We just
isn't it?
reversed the psychology of that, haven't we? So the fact that having one can a week, one can every 2 or 3 days doesn't make an incremental. It doesn't make an incremental change, but steadily over a month, over 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, you don't notice the change, and you have changed. And then let's take drink. Now how do we stop that habit? Oh, we wanted to create a positive habit, and now we've got a habit of drinking. How do we stop that habit? Oh, you want to stop that habit now?
It's the same. You can apply the same psychology to subscriptions.
Yeah.
It's only £2.99. How much is that over a year? Well, it's over 20 quid. Oh, it's only £11. Oh well, Netflix has only gone up £2. No, it's gone up 24 quid across the whole year, and that's what they're counting on. Well, it's only a quid, £2. Yeah, but this is just a small incremental change, but you don't see it across the year, and before you know it, where's all my money going? Oh, I've got 15 subscriptions. Aye, but they were only a quid each. Or they're only £2 each. Oh, this one was only a £5, or that one was only a £10 a year, but you've forgotten about the other 5 you've already got that add up to 50 quid. Before you know it, you spend 120 quid on this. How did I get there? Well, you've got your HelloFresh, you've got your Netflix, you've got your, you know what I mean? You've got these things apply to many areas.
Yeah, and what most of us don't do is continuously reassess: are they serving us or are they not serving us? So we were to take Netflix subscription, and you're only watching it once a month. Does that bring value to your life?
You could subscribe once a year and catch up on all those things. It's only 12 things if it's once a month, right? So, and they stay on there for 2-3 years. So you could subscribe once a year and run a catch up.
You're right. So looking at it from a different perspective, or reframing the way you're thinking about something, can actually draw you to a different conclusion. The problem is, most of us realise we're dicks when it comes to some of these things that we've done, and we don't want to admit it, so we just continue with them, don't we? Yeah. So
it's hard sometimes to look back and go, yeah.
The worst one of them, Simon, is the automatic annual renewals, and you forgot to put the date in your diary to say, shit, I must cancel that subscription, and it takes it automatically from your bank account.
Amazon. That's how I ended up subscribing to Amazon in the first place. And when I was reading some article on the internet, and apparently their call centre got so used to it that they just started cancelling people. When they ring up, say, I forgot it was yet, and they just do it. They don't argue the point, because so many people were doing it and just letting it run through its free period, 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it was. And so, I didn't realise, and I've just spent 75 quid for the year.
Yeah.
And of course, I did it on a yearly basis. I thought, well, that's a saving. That's a saving versus the $7.99 a month. But then, of course, a year came round. Totally forgot. Where's that 75 quid gone? Oh, my Amazon's just come out. I forgot all about that. I forgot all about it. And I never watch it because most of it's rubbish.
I did one on Wednesday online, and at the end of it, it said, click here if you wish to automatically subscribe at the end of the year, and I didn't click it. And you know what? I convinced myself that they know coming towards the end of the year, they want my business, so they're going to send me an email and say, by the way, you're due for a renewal. And then all I'm going to do is go on a compare website and look again just to see if it's value for money, and then decide. Rather than missing the comparison and just them taking the money automatically. So I'm going to change I'm going to change my habit a little bit on that one.
I learned
And
I learned doing a bit of marketing in my last place. I got heavily into marketing statistics and demographics and a bit of behavioral stuff. Did a lot of stats for the marketing. It made a big difference working directly with them. I learned shed loads of stuff from them, and then from me it was a great relationship. And I learned about and I've since seen it on the news anyway. But at the time, just a few years ago, I learned about all of these abandoned cart emails. How you'll put something in your cart. Oh, I fancy that, and then you'll have some sort of I don't know, change of mind, or you feel like you're going to regret it, or someone says, "Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll think about it, or I'll go and ask the other half about it, whatever." You just leave it, and then you just forget about it. What they started doing was sending out these abandoned cart emails and saying, "Oh, we saw that you were interested in this. If you still want to buy it, here's 10% off." And now people are doing it on purpose because it's become such a thing. You just go around these different sites. You definitely want to buy it, but if you're willing to wait a day, 2 days, sometimes it's actually a couple of hours, depending on which company you're with. And all of these things are automated triggers because I helped them set up these automated triggers. So it means they're just automated triggers where a routine runs and looks for people who had a basket that's about to expire after a couple of hours, whatever it is. And it just pings them this standard offer. But yeah, it might only be a standard 10%, but that's 10% less than you are going to pay. Just because you are willing to wait a couple of hours, a day, a couple of days, whatever it is, or even a week. Just leave it sitting. Leave it sitting. If you can wait, you should wait. You should absolutely wait.
I've got some news. So I've got some news on the new habit you created me. You created me the new habit of patience. Yeah.
And analysis.
Yeah. So what have I been pretty patient about over the last few months?
Caravan.
What did I buy on Saturday? What gets delivered tomorrow?
Ooh, caravan.
Yep.
Ooh. So what was the clincher? What was the clincher?
As it tends to be with me and you, it's very much about relationship and interaction in the first 10 seconds. So I give you an example. I went to visit 2 caravans last Saturday. One was, how shall I say it, from a traveller group.
Right.
And the stereotypical, unfortunately, came to the forefront. No eye contact, wouldn't look at me. When I asked a couple of questions about the caravan, no eye contact. And I just said, right, not for me, thanks, and I walked away.
Something you're not saying, or something you don't want to say, or you don't want to look at me when you say it.
And I went to this one in Liverpool with this guy. He's a taxi driver, and honestly, he couldn't help me enough about explaining. And he'd had the caravan for 7 years, and he told me everything about it. He told me what was right with it, what was wrong with it, and I just went home and I said to Anita, I said, that's the one, that's the one. And he's helped me tomorrow. He's taking it to the site. He's going to set it up for me. Him and his wife are going to show us everything how it works. And it was more about the relationship than actually the caravan in the end.
It also hints at the fact that he clearly must have loved that caravan, because if he's talked about it with such passion with you, so there's this, there's that, this does this, and I've had it for this long. Then you think, well, that means he's loved the thing, which means it's probably still in pretty good nick as well. Yeah. He'll have looked after it because he clearly loves that thing, and for whatever reason, he's selling it.
So the point being is that the journey of which has probably took 6 months, whereas I would have turned up at the first example, and I would have probably have took it because I'm impatient.
Oh, to get the job done.
Yeah,
job done.
Yeah,
tick.
And yeah, exactly. And that's interesting when you said the word. So I used the word, which I'm trying not to use. So I'm trying to force myself out of the habit of using the word interesting too much. But one of the things that James focuses on about Atomic Habits is forget about the goals and focus on the system that you're going to use to get to your journey. Yeah. So focus on the system to get you to the journey. Now, one of the examples he uses is that, well, if everybody wants to win the gold medal in the Olympics, Well, get ready potentially for some disappointment. Because, are you ready? Somebody has to come second.
Nah.
So, but if you focused on the system and the journey to get you towards competing at that level, and you know you've put in the correct amount of work and you've done pretty much as you can, you will not have that. We covered it in the other episode about falling off the cliff. You're less likely to fall off that cliff because it's more being about the journey than it is about the goal. So we're focusing on
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
take your achievement from your improvement rather than actually the win at the very end.
Yeah, one of the other couple of examples they use is right. So as kids, we all had messy rooms, didn't we? Messy bedrooms, and our parents would once a month they'd say, "You're not going out until you've tidied that room up. Yeah, you're not going out. You're not going out playing until you tidy the room up." So we'd like run round and we'd clean it up. And actually, when we got to the end of it, there was a sense of pride
Aye.
involved in how it looked.
Aye.
You can sense. I can sense that. I can reflect back to when my dad used to say, "Get in there," and actually, when I finished the job, I set a sense of pride. Yeah. Now, and then over a week or 2 weeks, it would go back to the same state. Yeah. So what that was telling me was that the goal was to clean it, and I just cleaned it. But the system to clean it was not robust enough to carry me on the correct journey. So what we're then looking for is that we're then saying, right, Mark, you're 13 years old. Once a week, you're going to spend 5 minutes cleaning it up. Yeah. So once a week, 5 minutes. That means that discussion at the end of the month about it being a shit tip never happened. So I changed the system of getting to the goal, which just meant, it was never about the goal now, it's just about the journey.
And it got less messy because you were maintaining over time. So rather than having one massive mess to clean up,
Yeah.
you had lots of little ones.
Yeah, and we'll come on to this, but it now became part of my identity that actually my bedroom is tidy. Yeah, so it's an identity thing. It's who you become. So if we go back, and I won't mention the individual's name, but there was a certain person that we worked with, and part of his identity was he chewed his fingernails and he picked his nose. That was part of his identity. None of us used his keyboard afterwards.
No, he was always talking to you like that.
Yeah, and so when we get into that is part of his identity. Part of my identity was I had a messy bedroom, and I've changed that as part of my identity changes. I want to be known as a person that has a tidy bedroom. Yeah.
So does it stop being identified as a habit then if it's part of who you are? Can you still call it a habit? So habit always sounds temporary.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Now, I mean, what they say about habits is it's a behavior that has been repeated so many times it's become automatic. Now, I'm not sure if that's a habit. It's just who we are now.
Yeah, I feel like there's a difference. So once it's established, it's something you can't get rid of because you would actually be changing fundamentally a piece of who you are rather than something that you do. So
yeah,
there must be a bridge between those two states.
I think you're right. I think it's at some point you want to put in a new habit, but it now doesn't become a habit. It's now just part of your identity. It's who you are. So if I was to say you, which shoelace do you tighten first, your left or your right? Yeah.
I always, it's the same. Yeah, I always put the same leg in.
Yeah.
The same foot in first because it flows.
As a child, we probably consciously thought about, right, I'm going to put my left one on first, then and then over a period of learning from that, we now don't even think about it. I mean, my wife still calls my eating a habit, but I just believe it's part of my identity now. So she laughs about my sevens as my nineses. So my sevens is my fruit and yogurt, and my nineses is my rice cakes with chocolate and cream on the top. But for me, it's not a habit. It's just part of my identity now.
So it would be something you would noticeably miss if you weren't doing it. Oh
yeah. So it's become so subconscious. I I don't even think about it. I mean, I was away last week. I was in Denmark, so I had to cut one of them out. And was I a little bit uncomfortable? Yes, I was. But I'm willing to admit I was a little bit comfortable about cutting one of those habits out because it's just part of my identity now that I do that. And I mean, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I was a nervous wreck, but I was a little bit uncomfortable. So now, what to mitigate that sense of slight anxiety? What did I do? So normally on my 9s I have a bit of chocolate. So I put a little bit of chocolate in my 7s with my fruit and yogurt. So I'm actually combining those two habits into one now, which is serving me better because while I was away.
So it worked.
Yeah. So I just reframed the habit a little bit. And so whereas as a 7, she calls it 7s and 9s, I just went to 8. And I had in Denmark in my little what was it? There was a little log cabin I was staying in, and in my log cabin at 8 o'clock, I was having my fruit and yogurt with a bit of chocolate in it. So it just served me. But another one is, so if you take, I realise I'm in a bit of a monopoly at the minute, so just, yeah. So somebody very close to me recently decided they were going to do this. This Couch to 5K.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Couch to 5K, and on day 1 they decide they're going to do a kilometre. Never run before. And they decide they're going to do a kilometre. Yeah?
Yeah.
So did it once, never did it again.
Yeah.
Now, if we were going to sort of think a little bit deeper about this, right? What would make sense? Well, what would make sense is walking a kilometre on day 1. Or running 100 meters. That way we have more chance of the journey helping us to succeed to get to the 5K. But the fact that you go big on day 1, you just lose all sense of motivation and drive.
I would ask a question. Was that because they wanted to get a big buzz of going, yes, I've started big, or was it sabotage? Knowing that a kilometre would kill the idea.
Well, this is where you get
subconscious
into
or otherwise. I mean, I don't mean that it was on purpose, but in some part they were like, I'm going to do a kilometre. Knowing all the while, really, if you know yourself, you'll know a kilometre would be like, nah, I'm going to hate it after that. I'm going to hate it. I'm not going to do it again.
Are you ready for a phrase? Goals restrict your happiness. It's about the journey. Now, I never thought I would say that because I'm goal orientated. But as I get to my age now, it is about the journey.
So should they have just gone out and ran until they felt like stopping? Let's just do it.
Why not?
Let's just run.
Why not?
And when I fancy coming home, I'll just turn around and come back.
Yeah, or say I'm going to the first lamppost and I'm coming back. Now you've got a sense of achievement.
Well, it's more than sitting on the couch, isn't it? So even the first lamppost is further than the couch. Or the settee.
It's 1%, Simon. It's 1%.
Yes.
It's 1%. And so I interesting. Habits shape your identity. So we were talking about this guy that we work with. We probably pick people out like, she's always got lovely hair. He's always well groomed. He's always got a lovely T-shirt on. Unfortunately, they never say that about me. But never mind.
Nah, you're definitely not talking about me.
Here's a one. I don't mind admitting this sort of stuff. So, the bus company I was working with recently, on the rota you go on, it's called a Hello You rota, and they give you a little, these little cloth bags, and on the front it's got Hello You on the front. And I decided I was taking this bag with me to Denmark because I had some fruit and a little bit that I was going to eat it on the plane. But unbeknown to me, just before I travelled, Robin had wrote the word "See you next Tuesday" on the bottom of Hello You.
There's an element of genius in that. I can appreciate.
There is an element of genius, and honestly, I just don't care, and I took it with me, and so and because I think I've been on a journey long enough now, I don't really care too much what people think about me. It's about me. Yeah. So if it's part of my identity that my hair was always a mess, then it's just who I am, and you can decide to accept me or not accept me. But I didn't have any problem with taking a hello. Uh, I don't really think consciously about what I'm saying here because I'm
Hello,
going to use
sir.
hello, sir. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Love you.
And well, if you take, part of my identity let's go back to when we were in Germany. You probably worked out that when me and you went out for a drink, part of my identity was I got wasted most of the time, didn't I?
There was a bit of that. There was a
Yeah.
bit of that. Aye.
Yeah. got
You
this-
weren't the only one, mind. I mean, I was always the
Yeah.
one sat there drinking Coke.
And by the way, just for the audience, when I mean wasted, I mean alcohol. There wasn't any of these naughty substances involved, was there?
No, but it was generally around the table. There was more than you, and there was generally me sat there with me Coke or me Pepsi or wherever it was, or me single bottle that I'd sat there for 2 hours with, and it was warm by then.
Yeah.
Just watching you guys steadily get more and more sort of out of it.
Well, it
It was a laugh.
We-
It was a laugh at the time.
It was, but I used to look at you really strangely, and I used to do the same with my wife when, it was just she's strange. Her identity is, she doesn't really drink, and your identity was you didn't really drink much, and my identity was that I did drink, but now my identity is completely reversed towards you. My identity is I don't drink, and I'm happy with that identity.
I don't miss it.
And no, I don't miss it in the slightest.
Do you ever get that when you go out and you're the one that says, "Oh no, I don't drink." The number of times I've had, "Why? What's the matter?" Like, 'cause it's almost like, well, hold on a minute, you're the one taking drugs, because alcohol is.
Yeah.
So you're the
Well, it's a
one
poison.
that's going to sit.
Poison.
Yeah, you're going to sit and drink 6 pints or more of something that, like you say, it's a poison. I mean, you wouldn't sit there and drink 6 glasses of water, would you? You wouldn't.
I
6
love
pints,
that. I
you
love
wouldn't.
that.
You would. It's only because of what it's got in it. And I'm sat here because I want to be with you, and I'm quite happy to watch you lot get uncomfortably wasted, especially given my social uncomfortableness. Just watching you lot get blitzed, and I was just getting more and more uncomfortable as the night went on about what was going to happen next, because I couldn't predict what was going to happen next by the end, because the variables just went out the window. Which is why I think I was always sort of uncomfortable around one of them that I spoke to you about, because I always felt like he was like a fuse waiting to go off. He'd either have a good night or not. There wasn't anything in between. But I was there as I use as my defence, if you like, as well. I'm here because I want to spend time with you lot, because you invited me out, or I wanted to see you. So for me, this one bottle of Sol, or whatever it is I've got in front of us, is to make me feel like I'm fitting in. But it might take me, like I say, up to 2 hours or whatever to drink it, because I'm there for the company and to participate. I'm not there because, like, this could be a cafe, as far as I'm concerned. It could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be something with. But it seems some can't do it without that sort of getting wasted bit. And, it's all part of the fun, isn't it? And then when they look at you and go, "What have you had problems with it?" Or like, "No, I just it doesn't benefit me." I mean, alcohol's a depressant, and I've gone through enough of that. I don't need to then exacerbate it, and it has. There have been some times where it's left me in a fairly awful state, and when I stopped, actually, I stopped when I was taking citalopram, the SSRI, and years ago now, and I found 1 pint. I could feel it. Like it actually accelerated the effect, or at least enhanced it. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do it. So I just stopped and went, no, for the sake of me sorting my head out, I'm just not gonna. And then I read about alcohol, found out it was a depressant, it made things worse, and blah blah blah. So I stopped. But I did get tired of like being the person that was either in the odd one out, or in the wrong, or the weirdo. Like, you're not drinking. Like, what happened? What do you mean? What happened? So they looked at us like, oh, he's. I felt like the next question was going to be, so where's your sober token? You know, because they look at you like, oh, you must have went through some stuff. No, I just choose not. You choose not to drink, especially, imagine up north, especially around, you know, where we're from in Newcastle, and so all the working class areas that are around here. You don't drink. So something no matter when. Yeah, and I just thought, you know what? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I like being sober. I deliberately used to just turn up. Oh, I've got the car. So I just do something that would get the question out of the way. You're not drinking. Oh, I've got the car. Because it would start a conversation otherwise. Why are you not drinking? Well, why are you drinking? And in fact, why have you drank 8? Snake bite and black currants. My old boss in Shields when I was working at Anglo Pacific Computers, he thought that made it sound like a big company, building PCs and all that. And we used to go. He invited me out a couple of times. Him and his mate. His mate was a bouncer in town. He was, I don't know how tall, but he was about as wide. He was a lovely bloke, mind. I met him a couple of times when I was out with the boss, and the two of them. And he would joke about how, it was a 21 pint last night. I was like, shut up. No, honestly. And then when I went out with him and I saw him drinks it like pop, doesn't even touch it literally doesn't even touch the sides. I went, there's no wonder you're the size you are, because it's all Guinness. It's about 400 calories in a Guinness. And you're just going, nah. But I thought, well, if it makes you happy. I'm not sure if it made his missus happy, but it made him happy. I just thought, well, I don't want to be that. I'd rather be this person that doesn't than that person that's having all the fun and all the larking about and the whatever's.
So when we come to change a habit, let's just take drink, as an example. A lot of us are outcome focused, So there's sort of 3 parts to this. There's you've got the outcome focus, the process that you're going to do, and then finally it becomes part of your identity. But most of us, when we want to change a habit, is we become outcome focused. So the outcome is, for an alcoholic, is I cannot drink because if I have one, it's going to be a problem. So that's an outcome focus, But if we change it to an identity focus, we just say, I don't drink. That's part of my identity. I do not drink. The fact that we've tried to change the habit from an identity perspective rather than an outcome perspective, it's easier to make the change. So
you've taken the focus off the thing that you can't do a thing to just saying, well, actually, that's not part of who I am. So So does it make it easier in that sense?
Yeah, I remember two ladies that did hypnosis on stopping smoking, and they came back after the session and they said, we've never smoked. And it was almost the hypnosis guy had changed their identity in terms of saying, you've never smoked.
So you hadn't changed the attachment, you just kind of talked them into, well, you never had it. You never had the attachment.
Rather than saying, I must stop smoking because I'll get cancer, he changed it and said...
So not even an ex-smoker. Never smoked?
No.
That's fascinating.
So, yeah.
I've always wondered how they did that. That's fascinating.
Yeah. What we need to do is, just to try and give it a couple of examples, is when we're trying to change a habit, we're going to stop looking at the outcome, or let's call it the result. Because some people get confused with what I mean by an outcome. We're talking about the result. The result being, I want to get fit. Yeah, that's our outcome, our result. We want to get fit, right? The process is, or the habit that we're going to create, and then finally it becomes part of identity. So I must get fit is an outcome. Yeah. So I'm going to go to the gym is the habit.
Because it's not specific, so it's just an outcome. It's not like, I'm going to get this fit.
Well, we could have said,
I want to be able to run this many miles.
Let's change that one just to help you out. So I want to lose 10 kilograms, or I want to lose a stone. Yeah, that's the outcome. I want to lose a stone, right? the habit is I'm going to go to the gym. Yeah. The problem is I hate the gym, and that's part of my identity. Yeah. I hate the gym. So what I've done is I've tried to create an outcome, a goal, a focus, a result when my identity says to me, I hate the gym. So it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. So now we flip that round and we say, right, what is my identity in relation to weight loss? What do I like? Well, okay, I like walking. I like walking in the countryside. I like walking on a treadmill. I like walking. I don't like the gym. I like walking. Okay, so part of my identity is I like walking. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go for an early morning walk 3 times a week in the morning, and basically the outcome, the result will be I will lose the weight that way. So I've focused on something that I enjoy doing, because we all just go, oh, I just go to the gym.
So you then become a walker who loses weight rather than somebody who wants to lose weight.
Yeah, because walking is part of my identity. I enjoy it. I'm going to stick to it easier than saying, right, I'm going to go to the gym, which I hate, but I know I have to lose weight, so I won't do it. I'll just stop doing it.
Well, it's that have to thing again as well, isn't it? So
yeah, back to have to versus I will, or, the other one is like, let's take the same scenario. I want to lose some weight. So my identity is I love cooking. Yeah, that's in my identity. Yeah. So the habit I'm going to do is I'm going to cook healthy meals each night, less than 700 calories. The outcome will be I lose weight. So I'm focusing on my identity as that somebody who really enjoys cooking, somebody who enjoys walking. So I'm focusing on the things I like first, then I'm creating the habit from the things I like. The outcome will be what I want, which is the loss of weight or whatever the habit is. Yeah. So,
less likely to trip yourself up.
Yeah,
I haven't lost this yet, and I haven't lost that yet. No, but you've learned 15 new recipes though.
Yeah. And what you've learned by those 15 new recipes is that those recipes, the first time you do those recipes, they're a little bit technical, a little bit difficult. You read the book, blah blah blah. But after doing them a certain amount of times, guess what they become?
Yeah, part of your identity, part of your skill set.
They become another habit that becomes subconscious. That means you don't grab 2 grams of pepper and 2 grams of salt and 2 grams of thyme and 2 grams of whatever. You just it's just in, and you just do it, and it's made in 10 minutes, and you're good. Yeah. One of the things that Tony Robbins, there was a story I remembered about Tony. Tony Robbins is a very, very famous coach. And he was in the early days, and he was meeting a client who he wanted to do business with. She was very pretty, and he was trying to sell himself to her. And they got basically towards the deal, and she was happy to do the deal with him. And they decided to shake hands on it. And they went to shake hands, and she noticed that his fingernails were bitten to the core. Yeah? Bitten to the core. And she looked at him, she went, I can't do business with somebody that can't control themselves and not stop biting their nails. And she walked away from the deal. And he was so embarrassed. He was so embarrassed about it. But what we're getting at, within his identity, he wanted to be a coach executive. And what he realized that to be this identity of this person, he had to start looking after him. So what he did was he booked himself a manicure, loved the fact his nails looked really, really good, and then took pride in the fact that his nails looked good from then on. And of course, he then got the deals, he became a multi-billionaire, blah, blah, blah. But that one example of you create an emotional side to it as well, of the habit, an emotional side. I liked the woman. I wanted to do a deal with her, but I actually also really liked her. I wanted to sort of be involved with her.
So her opinion mattered.
Yes.
I know what you're saying. Like, he placed value in something that she said and went, right, well, I'm going to sort that out.
So true behaviour change becomes part of your identity. True behaviour change becomes part of your identity. So we talk about these habits, and I talked last week about stacking habits, which we maybe come on to in a bit. But basically, you look at a habit that you want to create, and you think, oh, it's going to be painful. But actually, yeah, there you go. You bite your nails. Stop it.
There was just this thing. There was just this bit hanging off.
What do you call it? Is it like a Wicklow? What do you call it? A Wicklow. A Wicklow.
There was just a bit hanging on, and I was sitting here while I'm listening. I'm fidgeting. And so, right, well, I need to stop fidgeting, so I just bit it off.
Yeah, and one of the things when I did some weight loss bits a couple of years ago, and I talk about the habit of a lot of people look after their teeth. Yeah, so they get up in the morning and without thinking about, the alarm goes off, they go in the bathroom, they have a wee, and then they start brushing their teeth. Yeah, really, really. End of the night, last thing we do, we have a wee, probably brush our teeth, and then we're off to bed. So you've got this really positive habit. Now, so why do we look after our teeth?
Yeah, it certainly helps with chewing.
So we look after our teeth because we know that if we don't look after them, the teeth are going to fall out and we'll have a problem chewing.
It's functional, yeah.
Yeah. So you create a really positive habit that looks after your teeth. What about the things that are attached to your teeth and the whole of this thing? Why are we not looking after that? So, and this boils my piss. Pardon my French. You might cut that bit out. It boils my piss that we spend so much focus on looking after our teeth or brushing our hair in the morning, and we don't look after the thing that's going to get us to the end goal, which is living longer.
200 quid on a hairdo, manicures, all that other, I don't know, gubbins that you might put in your, or even hundreds of pounds on shoes, trainers, whatever else. And you're like, yeah, but what about the rest of the picture?
Yeah, I love this one. You like this one because you're into sci-fi, aren't you? So, if aliens came to Earth and they could only watch you, from your behaviours, would they be able to tell and understand your priorities? Would they be able to understand from your behaviour versus your plan? So, if they watched you, would they be able to work out what your plan is, or do your behaviours contradict your plan? Yeah? So they're only allowed to watch what you do. Now, and I get it, this coach that I worked with a few years ago, and he just basically said to me, I don't believe what you say, I only believe what you do. So what you do is taking you towards where you want to be. But our behaviours don't show us what we're trying to do. We just talk a good game.
So you should be able to tell someone wants to be a famous singer by watching them over time, disregarding some of the little bits of, daily life stuff. But are they doing something that contributes towards? Did they take that interview? Did they go and sing in that club? Did they make sure they were stood in front of that recruiter or this? Did they take that cruise ship thing? Or are they constantly turning things down and saying, no, I will only accept stuff that's this? Yeah, but you do all of these. Would you be able to see that from an external perspective? Or would a third party be able to guess what your career goal is?
Well, you so the alien comes down and he sees you brushing your teeth twice a day. Has he worked out that you're looking after yourself completely? No, he's just worked out that you brush your teeth twice a day. He hasn't worked out that your ultimate plan is to live to be 100. Not from brushing your teeth. That behaviour doesn't say you're planning to live to 100. Eating the right things, doing the right exercise, talking the right way, educating yourself by doing things like podcasts. They're going to keep you inspired and going towards that, whatever that. I keep saying 100 because I'm going to live to be 100. Somebody's going to play this in 45 years' time, and they're going to say he was right. Mark my words. Yeah,
me and you, because we'll still be doing this.
I might need a bit of a straw for this, or I might have to chop it up and get it in there.
We'll be saying, who are you? What was the subject again? I don't know. Have you heard about Elsie? She died.
Here's
Maybe a lot of
here's a
that.
good one about identity. So I decided just before I was 50, I created this phrase called "Fit for 50," which was my Pandora phrase as I was moving towards my 50th year. As we all know, I'm 55 now. So, and that became part of who I was going to be. That was my future identity. Had it ingrained in my head: fit for 50, 50, 50. And I lost quite a lot of weight during that time, and I really looked after myself. Um, and You know what Pandora did? I don't know if you remember this. You know what Pandora gave me as a gift for my 50th birthday?
Not off
Yeah?
the top of my head.
They gave me a Pandora watch and they engraved on the back of it something. They engraved on the back of it a picture of me with the phrase "fit for 50." And you know what they engraved on the back of it? A picture of a fat mark.
Oof.
Yeah? Guess how often I wear it?
Never.
Never. It's not who I am.
Yeah, look,
It's not part of my identity. Uh, yeah,
there's mine. I've never changed it
there's
that
your.
way.
I'm, I'm like some dodgy bloke on a Caribbean island going, "Do you want to buy a watch, mate? I've got about 50 of them gone up and down my arm now. Never wear them."
This was one of the ones that I think it was the one that Carsten gave us as. It was some occasion, and he gave us it as a gift, didn't he? I can't remember what the occasion was.
Now, just so you know, and that tells you something about who your identity is, whether you're going to be attracted to something or not attracted to it. So the fact that they put a picture of somebody that I no longer am, I have no interest in wearing that watch. And we laugh about it, you know, the people that sort of created it, they did it in the best intention. They unfortunately, you know, because I was on the journey, they couldn't actually find a picture of me being slimmer, so they just did the next best thing. Um, but when we start to think about habits, there is three processes in a habit. It's I don't know if I've touched on this with you before, Sam, but there's a cue, the routine, and the reward. So there's the cue, um, and so if you're a gambler and you walked into a casino, uh, the noise, the jinging, the
Yeah,
bells, that is your cue. Yeah,
yeah, it's all very deliberate. Yeah.
yeah, and the routine is, I'm going to put my hand in my pocket. I'm going to put £50 on black. Yeah, the reward is actually hopefully it landing on black. That's the reward, and get the sensation, and then you continue that loop. Obviously, that's a pretty negative habit loop, and it could be like for me, let's just say I walk in the kitchen and I see the Maryland cookies on the bench. Yeah,
The Maryland cookies, hi.
the Maryland cookies. Remember the Maryland cookies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many
Yeah.
a
So
stock take with Maryland cookies.
every time I wanted Simon to really put a
Yeah.
bit of effort in, I used to bring him about 2 or 3 packets of Maryland cookies.
Well, the effort would go in, but it was more to stop me from moaning about it. I think it was
Yeah.
probably the best way to put it. This will shut him
You're,
up. This will shut
you're
him up.
right.
I'll put a smile
You're
on your
right.
face.
I apologize for that because actually it's a show of affection. I cared for you so much that I knew what you liked, so I brought it in.
Yeah, and it was also a little bit to sort of, well, keep him quiet. He'll keep quiet. He'll be fine. He does go. The work gets done, but he sometimes,
Yeah. So I walk in the kitchen. The cue is I see the Maryland cookies. The routine is I put my hand in and I grab it. Yeah. And the reward is I get a sensation, that crunch, that sensation of enjoyment. And so, good. Those are bad habits. Now, there's obviously you can use the same principle for good habits. In terms of when you're going to create a new habit, you're trying to create a good cue, and it could be, I don't know, boiling the kettle. You start to get your cup out and you get herbal tea out, and the reward is a refreshing drink. So you're creating a new habit loop there. You've also got to start thinking about who do you want to be. We've touched on this about the identity of the person you want to be. Is your identity a person that eats Maryland cookies all day, or is your identity something different to that? So, we're talking about, you know, what was it? Some people would put on the fridge little reminders, which stay away from the food, you fat fucker. You know, maybe a bit borderline in my language, but you know, and what are you trying to do? You're trying to stop the cue or the action.
You're trying to you're trying to interrupt the process, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. Because one of the things I'm pretty convinced about is our identity is not set in stone. I'm completely different to what I was when I was 20 to when I was 30 to when I was 40. Right? I can change my identity. You know, you might identify with Highland shortbread biscuits now rather than Maryland cookies. I don't know.
No, it's the McVitie's family circle.
There you go. So,
and then I'll leave them on the side, and rather than actually going into the kitchen and deliberately, you know, every now and again I'll have a cup of tea. I'll grab one of them, but then I can leave them. I can not touch them 1 or 2 days. I can just leave them on the side. But then rather than going and making a full-on sandwich, there's times I'll make a cup of tea and just take one biscuit.
Yeah,
I feel good. But setting cues, what I find is I put something on I want to listen to and occasionally watch. So when I want to do a piece of work, like I'm drawing something for the t-shirts or doing a bit of artwork, I'll put something on that just makes me sort of laugh along. So actually I'm entertained by this rather than, although I'm focused on what I'm doing, I'm not so focused on it that I'm thinking I'm doing work. So no, I'm in a process. This whole thing's a process, and it puts me in a zone, and I just crack on with what I'm doing. But I'm listening to this at the same time. I'm always doing 2 things at once, minimum. Mm. So there's always TV, computer, or TV, something, always. And I did the same when I used to come home from work back in the day. This was ages ago when I discovered this. I didn't realise I was doing it. I would always come home and put on the same TV show. And when I didn't do that, it's like my brain didn't know. But when I sat down and I put this TV show on and I had my tea, it was like my brain went, oh, it's home. It's home time. Right, it's home time. And then I'm in that sort of and then the day's stress used to just tail off. And it helped. It helped because I'd created this situation, this behaviour, this trigger for my brain to say, we are at home now, we are not at work. And it was a good habit for not picking the laptop up and starting something else.
Yeah.
Because I went, no, this is home life, watching this, doing that. I do the same with some of my favourite shows. I'll save them. When there's a new episode out, I'll save them for a specific, either time of the night or day of the week, when there's something I want to do. And then this is my zone for doing certain things. So when that's on, we're doing this. Same with food, to make sure I sit there, eat me dinner. I'm not wandering about doing different things. I'll put on one of my favourite shows, eat me dinner, and that becomes a process. And when the show finishes, I'm not eating. I'm off working, I'm doing something else. So it's almost like I've went, well, eating time is when I'm watching one of my favourite things. And now I mean, there's not like it, but I don't, oh, you know that bit I bit off my nail?
Yeah, protein.
It's gone red. I think I bit a little bit too close to the, but I'm slowly getting rid of some of this shit that's got me back into this situation. So I remember talking to you that rather than going on a diet, because we know how we feel about diets, right? And the use of the word diet.
Correct.
To get myself, I lost that 3.75 stone, whatever it was, and I just changed the way I changed my life. Like I did almost exactly what you were saying before. I went, you know what? I don't mind walking around the car park at work, so it gets me away from the desk. So I started doing that, and I started walking at other times, and then I obsessed over finding out the calories in food and how much sugar is in food. So I was gaining knowledge, but I was using that knowledge in MyFitnessPal. And all of that stuff, that lifestyle change and creating a bit of interest around it, took away I've only lost this week. Took away all of that, and I just got into what I was doing. And within, I don't know, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2, I lost those few stone. And I kept it off. In total, I think for something like 3-4 years, I was stable. Lockdown messed all of that up because I stayed in the house. I allowed that to happen, mind. I'm not blaming lockdown. I allowed that to happen. I could have went out and done me steps, me walking. I didn't. I could have done. So the fact that I'm back to, I don't know, another stone and a half or 2 stone, whatever it's, I haven't weighed myself on purpose. I've undone some of that work, and I've undone some of those things that became me. Oh, he walks around the car park all the time. Look at him. Yeah, but I was doing a minimum of 4,000 steps, an average of 6. I was chuffed when I got to 10, but I got focused on the stats and the stuff that I know my nerdy brain likes, rather than I need to walk. I got excited about looking at the number, and you've got myself this watch that measures it all, and I've lost all that, and it worked because I made a lifestyle change that became part of who I was, rather than going, well, I'm going to go on a diet and I'm going to eat this, I'm going to cut out bread, I'm going to get rid of potatoes. What? No. So you're going to deprive yourself of... Eventually you're going to hate that. I even introduced curry Thursdays, which I still do. It broke up the monotony of some of the things that I was getting bored with cooking and having the same thing. So, well then, I think I can afford a curry on a Thursday. I used to do it on a Saturday, but it would just break up the week. And I still do that, so I need to put all the other stuff back in. You see this? Steps machine.
Oh, yeah. One of the things that James touches on is understanding your habit stacking from a positive, neutral, and negative perspective. One of the things he recommends, which I think is a really, really good exercise, I'll keep this one really simple because it's the last bit on sort of habits. So he said, create a habit scoring card, list your habits. And that's quite a difficult exercise to do because a lot of them are subconscious. So let's just take the simple thing.
There's a lot of admission in it as well. You've got to be honest with it.
Yeah, you've got to, and you've really got to analyze what you do. And so that from a data perspective, you would love this. So he said, right, okay. So the alarm goes off, which wakes me up. I press snooze. I look at my phone. I go in the bathroom. I weigh myself, and I get a shower. Now we're saying go through that list again and give it a score of either good, bad, or neutral. Yeah. So we're going to waking up is obviously good because that means we're alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
The alarm going off is neutral. Pressing the snooze is negative. Yeah. Looking at your phone straight away is negative. Weighing yourself is a positive, and going in the shower is a positive. So the fact that we've taken that 2 or 3 minute thing that we do every morning, and we've analysed and said, is it good, bad, or indifferent? You can now start to say, right, what could I do that would negate some of the negative sides of that habit stacking? So I'm going to create a different habit stack. So mine is on that one. My watch alarm goes off. Yeah. I know 1 minute later in the other room, my proper alarm is going to go off. I have to get there. Yeah. So I've stopped the snoozing, and I leave the phone in the bedroom, and I go in and I start weighing myself and getting a shower and getting ready. So I haven't looked at the phone and I haven't snoozed. Straight away by doing that, I've negated 2 of my negative aspects of my bad habits.
I stopped leaving my phone next to the bed.
Yeah.
And I've put it so I literally have to sit up and reach across to hit the button to turn it off. And I leave it on a sound that I'm not particularly fond of. So rather than playing a nice song or something, I might wake up and go, ooh, well, that's a good song to start the day with. No, I put something a little bit irritating. And then so I need to... Oh, that's crappy. It's one of them tunes that's an earworm. Once you hear it, it just stays in your... I'm like, right, I need that off.
Yeah.
I need that absolutely off. And that works.
Yeah.
Gets me up. Because I'm naff. Absolutely... I can't just wake up and get up.
The tough bit is... I forget what it was that you said to me recently. You made me... And this is quite tough because when you're not got the benefit of doing a video like this or being able to be analytically hard on yourself about the habits that serve you and don't serve you, you're looking for feedback of friends, colleagues, family and friends. And it was something you said to me, do you realise you do this? And what was it again? I think I've stopped doing it. So
Was that anxiety about time? You know, the
that
way
was
that
it. Yeah.
you would steer the conversation, and even some of your words would change. I could tell you are getting very nervous about
Yeah.
how long we'd been recording because your vocabulary would change, and you'd be doing this more often. Like, when we're going to finish, when we're going to finish. Look at the time. Look at the time. Look at the time. It felt
Yeah.
like, you know,
And
you
I've
really
actually
needed to.
I've actually used it in some of my training sessions with some of my clients where I talk openly and honestly about my anxiety related to time, that somebody made me aware of it, that even in conversations, they could sense that I was moving the conversation away or drawing it. And I wouldn't say I mastered it, but I've accepted that I've got an issue on it now. So, and I can make subtle changes to that. I can play with my diary. I can do this. I can do that. I can, do other things.
Because you're
I
very. Like, it bugs you when you haven't got your Saturdays planned out, right?
Well, any plan. I need a plan.
Or,
for a
or
month.
any gaps in the schedule.
Yeah.
And you want
yeah,
to say, right, are we going on holiday this weekend? So you're right, well, if you don't know, then I'm going camping. I need to put something in there so I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and we've.
I'm very much the
so-
opposite.
Yeah, I mean, we've got an when we talk about habits and we sort of draw the conclusion on this one. There's an episode where I'd like to talk about alcohol and stuff like that. I had an interesting conversation with somebody this week about they said to me, "Oh, you don't drink," and I was like, "No." And I said, "Oh, do you drink?" And they went, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Oh, why do you drink?" And they said, "Oh, it helps me to relax." And I went, "Oh, you have a problem relaxing, do you?"
Ooh.
And they're like,
Oh, that's a good one. That. Ooh. Eh? Oh, so you're basically, he's basically admitted, oh, it helps me relax. It's a normal thing to say about drink, isn't it? Oh, it helps me relax. Helps you relax so you couldn't relax otherwise.
"Yeah."
That's basically what you've just admitted. Can't do it without it. Oh, it helps.
So you've actually just reversed it, because we both have the same problem in that, like, people perceive us as being some sort of strange animal because we don't drink in our neck of the woods, and actually you reverse it round and say to them, "You have a problem, not relaxing."
It's a good one. I'm keeping that. It's
Yeah.
going in. It's going in the library, that one.
Going in that one, innit? Yeah, well done.
Keeping that.
It was a good one, that one. I enjoyed it. Apologies, I seemed like I was a monotony on that one.
No, do you know, you say that about time, scratching your neck. That's probably the most relaxed I've seen you. And that's probably the quietest I've ever been. But it was fascinating. But you got as into that as I normally get into the things that I talk about. And I don't remember you doing any of this or fidgeting or even looking at the clock. You just kind of went on and went, this is a topic that matters. I can see how much it matters.
Yeah,
That's why I sat and listened, because it was fascinating the way you were delivering it.
Again, I've tried something different this time. My setup on my PC is slightly different to the other weeks we've done it. So now I can see myself a little bit more on the camera. So I can see my movements a little bit more. So now I'm trying to reverse the habit by being conscious about what I can see on the screen. And it's helping. It helped this week.
It helps me, because when I'm doing it, I can see myself on the left and you on the right. So I've got like the host screen, so I can see everybody or anything that's going on. And I left it there. I cover it up at the start. I'm like, oh, I don't want to. No, leave it.
Yeah.
And this episode, I've spent less time doing this, moving away from I've just sat almost at the same distance the whole time and went, yep. Not moved.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have known that. I've got used to watching myself. I got used to hearing myself. It's weird hearing your own voice, but I've got kind of used to it. Now, 10 episodes in, and I don't know how many times I've watched each episode. I don't know, but I've got used to it.
Yeah.
Now it's just something that happens. And sometimes I find it funny. So I don't see some of my autistic behaviours. And I sometimes find them funny when I look at myself. Why do I repeat myself when I do that? And I can just see a behaviour and I go, I didn't realise I did that. I'm not going to change it though, because that looked funny. Like, I laughed at it. So I don't know why do I keep repeating myself there? Saying that word twice. What's that about? It looks silly though. I'll leave it alone.
What?
Leave it
We'll
alone,
look forward
but
to the episode. Is it you sort of normal schedule? You know, you think sort of Monday, Tuesday?
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying to make sure that it's out as early as possible on Monday. Although last week I had all sorts of network issues, so it ended up out later in the morning, later in the day on the Monday. I won't go into it, but it was just tons of stuff getting it uploaded, and in the end I got it done. But my aim is to try and have it out so it's there for the morning commute, whenever people want to listen to it, or listen to it when they get home. But it's there and it's done. I can crack on with something else. But perhaps I hate setting these sorts of goals. They make me feel icky and cheesy. But perhaps we need to, even if we only talk about it before the show, look for something that we like. A habit that we've come to that, like, so I'm gonna critique it. I always do. You always do. It's probably better that you listen to it through Spotify than watch it, because maybe you get less self-critiques to worry about. Although you have watched it on YouTube at the beginning and more recently. But I watch it over and over and over through the edit. And I'm gonna try and go, well, do you know what? I've stopped doing such and such. Oh, I like the way that flowed. We need to do more of that. We haven't done that for a while. Not since the start when we were first checking the way we did it. We should do more of this because that seemed to work. And we did. And we haven't looked back. We haven't done that sort of thing since. That works. Sit to that. Ooh, look at the way you keep doing this. Look at the way you keep moving that. Me touching my glasses. Mind you, that led to a funny episode back in the day, didn't it?
Did.
And the Man Bible. Do you want to... I've been staring at this habit joke for ages.
Go on then, do it.
My friend has a habit of dropping things. It's getting out of hand.
Whee!
Hey! I was trying to find some better ones, but they're all sort of that ilk, aren't they? So it's kind of hard to find one that isn't a bit... Hey, a bit... Ooh. Nah.
No.
Did you find any? Did you find any dad jokes
No.
to bring in this time?
No, it was only the... What did the buffalo say to his son when he was leaving?
I don't know.
Bye, son.
Bye, son. I don't have any bad habits. I'm good at all of them.
Me.
Nice. That'll do. That'll do.
Yeah.
I balance out my overeating with under-exercising. Ooh, relevant. Tick the box. Right, so next week. Have you got a fancy for next week?
No, I didn't. I didn't sort of like.
Because alcohol's on the list. Alcohol's on the list. It was one of the ones we thought of at the start.
Yeah, it would take. It would be a good subject. I'm not sure it would complete an hour, but I could do a bit of research because I read quite a lot of books afterwards. About things like alcohol lied to me and stuff like that. And there's some really, really good points in there that get people thinking. And actually, as we said, you're reversing the psychology about why you shouldn't. So yeah, we could do that next week. I'd look forward to that one. I love the subject.
We could pick another. If there's still room for another bit, we could pick another addictive thing and look at the way those sorts of things integrate. I mean, junk food's a thing, right? I mean, it's probably as bad as... It's like, I've never been to McDonald's. You've never been to McDonald's? Who are you? I've heard that conversation. You've never been to McDonald's before? Nah, never had that. Just don't do it. And even I've asked that question. Like, you've never been? Nah. I just know what's in it, so I won't eat it. And it's perfectly fine to say that, isn't it? Perfectly logical. Oh, well, nah, I know what's in that sort of food, and it's not good for you. You're right, because you're hungry again half an hour later.
What is it? As the saying goes, what's this?
Oh.
What's this? As the saying goes?
Mustache. Mustache. I was sitting going, he's trying to remind me of one of them things. What's that one? Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Mustache. We'll save it for Ron. You caught us out with that when you first time you said
Yeah.
that. Who's Ron? Later on.
Save that cake for Ron. Who's Ron? Ron doesn't work here. Later on.
I know. Caught us out with that one the first time you said it. Couldn't believe it.
Good
So, I guess we'll have a chat because there's a couple of other things on that list that I know we were looking forward to. So let's keep it a mystery. Let's keep it a mystery. So, like, subscribe, follow, leave some comments. There's a feature on Spotify that allows us to put out a Q&A thing and put out polls. So I'd consider doing that once that number bumps up. We can get some direct feedback. But drop us some comments on YouTube, and you can pick the next episode if you want.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Do all the clicky things on the follows and that, and then we'll see you next week. Take care.